This video will be on how to draw diagrams with bearings. Any question where you have to draw a diagram is always a little bit harder because you have to do quite a bit of interpretation. So with these bearings diagrams, there's a few things that you'll need to be aware of to make sure you get to make sure you can make sense of all the information. So let's quickly first talk about how to interpret bearings questions, or the two common words that you'll find in a bearings question. The two common words you're going to find are the word from and the other word is of. From is where you are. So if I'm talking about the bearing of A from B, it means I'm currently at B. If I'm talking about the bearing of B from A, it means you need to go and put your pen on A. So from is where you are. Of is where you're going to. So the bearing of A means if it's from B, it means I'm at B and I want to go all the way to A. Okay. And if it's the bearing of B from A, it means I'm at A and I want to go to B. Okay. Now, let's clear this up. If we want to work out the bearing of A from B, let's just do true bearings here. If I want to work out the bearing of A, it means I need to get to A, but if I'm going from B, I must start at B, and if it's a true bearing, I'm going to turn clockwise until I get to that line, that direction line that'll take me to A. So I can stop here, and you can see on this diagram that that angle is 245 degrees. So the bearing of A from B, so if I want to get to A from B, I'll have to turn 245 degrees and then I can start walking in that direction to get to A. So that bearing is 245 degrees true. If I want the bearing of B from A, I'm now going to go and stand on A and I need to try and work out the angle I turn on to get to B. Well, B is over here. I'm starting from the north, so I'm going to turn 65 degrees. You can see that angle there. So if I want the true bearing, it would be 065 true. That would be the bearing of B. So if I want to get to B, but I'm starting at A. Now, if you understood that, now's the time to give this question a go where you find the bearing of A from B and B from A. Otherwise, I'd hang in with me and try and watch the next example as well. So the bearing of A from B, once again, from is where you are. So from B means I'm at B, but I want to get to A. So I'm going to turn clockwise, clockwise, clockwise until I get to that line there. Now, this is a trickier example because you need to spot that there are actually some alternate angles. Now, if I look at for the Z, hopefully you remember back to alternate angles in year 8, if we have a set of parallel lines cut by a line which is called a transversal, that gives you alternate angles. And alternate angles, the easiest way to spot them would be to look for this Z. Okay, let me highlight that Z there. There's a couple of Zs. There's a forward Z. There's even a backward Z. So not really the correct Z, but it's just a back to front Z. And the alternate angles are actually here, there, and here, and here. So if you look at my diagram, I've got a back to front Z happening, and that 20 degrees, its alternate pair is down there. So that means that angle I can also label as 20 degrees. And now to work out my bearing, it gets a bit easier. I'm going 90, 90, that's 180, another 90 is 270, and an extra 20 will give me 270 plus 20 is 290 degrees true. If I want the bearing of B from A, so B from A, I'm going to go and stand at A because I'm going from A and I want the angle I turn to get to B. I want the bearing of B. So I'm going from here, clockwise, turn till I get to the B line, and that will be a 90 degree angle plus another 20, and 90 plus 20 is 110 degrees true. So that's interpreting what the bearing actually means so that you can label angles on the diagram. But now we're going to look at an example where you have to draw the diagram yourself, okay? So it's definitely getting a little bit trickier, but we can totally do this. So what we've got here is A. We're told that A is due north of B. So the first thing I'm going to draw is every time I have a location, I give it a compass point. Very, very, very important that wherever your locations are, there is a nice cross. The center of the cross is the location. So A is due north of B. So this is going to be A over here, represented by that yellow dot or yellow highlighter mark, the center of the cross. And B is, A is due north of B, so B must be over here. Okay, due north means follow the north line straight up. And C is southeast of B. Well, here's my B. Southeast would be halfway between south and east. There's south. So I'm going to be southeast exactly halfway along. And one thing you should be thinking right now is, oh, I know some angles I can label. If you are going southeast, notice how I just extended my compass cross. That's very helpful. If I'm going to go along the southeast line, it means that it's right in the middle. So that angle must be 45, and that angle will be 45 as well. I don't know if that's useful yet, but I do know that it's correct. Now, C is over here somewhere. Don't really know where exactly, but no, it's down there somewhere. And I also know that C is on a bearing of 160 degrees from A. So from the center of that cross representing A, I should be able to draw a line down here. Now, really, I've got to extend to get my location for C. So I better clear that out a bit. Try again. Okay, so it turns out my C is there. And like I said before, wherever you have a location, you want a very clear cross. Okay, so I'm going to mark this location as C. And I know the bearing of C from A was 160. So if I come up here, I'm just going to exaggerate the cross for A as well. It means I have to turn 160 degrees to get to C. Well, that would mean that that's 90. That would mean if it's 160, that would be the excess after 90. That's 70. And then this little angle in here would have to be 20. Okay? I don't know what's useful, but what I am practicing is labeling as many angles as I can. And I can even see an alternate angle here. So that would make this angle here 20 degrees too. So really practice labeling whatever you can see. I can see another alternate angle. Let's hope my diagram's not getting too crazy for you. There's another alternate angle there, which means I can label that as 45 degrees too. And I can even label one more angle. I know that this is a 90-degree angle. So if I remove the 20 and the 45, excuse me, that would leave me with 25 for this angle here. So we've got lots of angles labelled. Let's see if we can find some of these bearings. The bearing of A from B. From B. So from B means I better go to B, and I need to work out what angle I turn on to get to A. Well, A is due north of B. So that would give me a bearing of 0 degrees. Now, it's a bit strange, but if I'm drawing a true bearing, I take it I would need 3 figures. So I'm just going to write it as 0, 0, 0 true. But really, normally, we'd say it is due north. If I want the bearing of A from C, well, let's go to C, because it says from C. And I would have to turn all the way to get to the A line. And if you look, I've basically turned nearly a full revolution, except for I'm missing the 20 degrees. So what I could do is do 360 and remove that 20 that I don't want. And that will give me a bearing of 340 degrees true. If I want the bearing of C from B, now where's C? C from B. So that means I've got to go to B and I need to turn till I get to C. Well, I'm going to start at B and I've got to turn till I get to the C line. Turn. That line, that black line there will take me to C. So that would be a 90 degrees and I want another 45 degrees. If I add those two together, I'll get 135. So the bearing of C from B is 135 degrees true. And last one is the bearing of B from C. From C. So I've got to go to C. So hopefully we can see this. Maybe I'll need another highlighter. From C. And I've got to get to B. So from C, I'm going to go start at the north line, turn, and stop when I get to that B line there. So if you look what I've turned through, looks like I've done 270 plus this 45 degrees here. So I would add 270 and the 45 together, and that gives me 315. So that bearing is 315 degrees true. I might post another video on drawing diagrams, as I think they are actually quite tricky, but if you need to, I would re-watch this video again and see if you fully understand all the major concepts I've talked about.